Chapter 1821. When Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan were also her best friends. When Qingmeng was her university classmate, and they were close friends. At first, she treated her as a true friend, but when Qingmeng was too beautiful, suitors followed her wherever she went. Standing beside Wen Qingmeng, she was like a green leaf that served as a foil for the other party. In the 3 or 4 years of university, there were countless suitors who came to her to ask her for help. They would send things to Wen Qingmeng and find out what she liked. Those people only saw Wen Qingmeng, and their eyes never stayed on her for a second. She agreed and told Wen Qingmeng later that there was nothing wrong with these boys. They were all superficial people and were not sincere to her. Wen Qingmeng believed her. In the 3 or 4 years of university, although she had countless suitors, she had never been in a relationship. The two of them had a good relationship. She also knew that Wen Qingmeng had yet to give her first kiss, let alone her first love. So what if she was beautiful? She didn't even have a man who wanted her. Because of what she said, Wen Qingmeng would ask for her opinion every time she faced a suitor. What opinion could she have? Of course, she went to meet the man and analyzed his shortcomings. Actually, those suitors were all giants among men. They were much better than Fan Chao, whom she married. They were good-looking, had good family backgrounds, and were good people. But when Qingmeng listened to her and thought that she was sincere. And Ning Zhishan was her colleague. Ning Zhishan was younger than her and had joined the company later. In the beginning, she had helped Ning Zhishan a few times. They had a good relationship, whether it was at work or after work. The bad thing was that Ning Zhishan was too professional. She had only been in the company for a year and was already a department manager. How could she not be jealous? Ning Zhishan even pretended to thank her for her help. She said that it was thanks to her that she was where she was today. No matter what happened in the future, she would never forget her. She thought that if she hadn't helped Ning Zhishan back then, Ning Zhishan wouldn't have had the chance to be promoted to department manager. Even if it wasn't her, it couldn't have been Ning Zhishan. They were in the same department, and they were in the same position back then. Now, the latecomer had become her superior. How could she feel good about this? As for what happened today, when the three of them questioned her later on, she would use an excuse that she didn't know and cry a few more sentences. Even if they had a knot in their hearts, they wouldn't blame her too much. After all, she didn't know. Their relationship was so good. If she had known that something like this would happen, how could she have allowed it to happen? In order to make her reason more believable, He Yujiao drank as much as she could. He drank 1 cup after another, intending to make himself drunk. Seeing that He Yujiao had drunk so much, Fan Chao said, "Yujiao, are you okay?" "It's fine. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll drink a few more glasses. This is our home, not some other place." What made He Yujiao satisfied was that she had found Fan Chao as her husband. Fan Chao was quite capable, so he started a small business in the city. If possible, she also wanted to find someone with more money. However, with her looks, rich people wouldn't like her. Fan Chao was different. He came from a small town and had some money. He was not good-looking, but he knew how to coax women. She was always happy to be with him, and he was only good to her. She believed that with Fan Chao's ability, he would definitely become a big boss in the future. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1822. You're right. You should drink more today. Fan Chao smiled and put his arm around He Yujiao's waist. I'm here. Yujiao, drink as much as you want. If you get drunk, I'll take you back to the house to rest. He Yujiao trusted Fan Chao. She didn't reject Fan Chao's offer. This was exactly what she wanted. She didn't notice the urgency in Fan Chao's eyes. It was as if he wanted to get her drunk so that he could do something important. Soon, He Yujiao was drunk. Fan Chao said goodbye to the others and said that he would take her back to the house to rest. He was met with ambiguous gazes. He left with He Yujiao and the rest of the guests continued to eat. Fan Chao didn't plan to go back to the banquet. Instead, he sneaked to the bridesmaid's house. The door to the house opened with a light push. He didn't notice what was going on inside. He quickly went in and closed the door. By the time he realized that something was wrong, it was too late. A leather whip lashed out at his face, causing him to fall to the ground in an instant. He cried out in pain. He covered his face and was completely stunned. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why the whip kept coming at him. At this moment, a pleasant female voice rang out above his head. "Are you here to mess with the bridesmaids too?" "Of course. The bridesmaids are so pretty. Who wouldn't want to mess with them?" Fan Chao replied without thinking. After replying, he felt that something was wrong. He looked up and realized that the person with the whip was Tanggua. This bridesmaid was the most beautiful. He had been envious of her for a long time. Even if He Yujiao wasn't drunk today, he would have found an excuse to get her drunk. When the time came, he would come here and mess with the bridesmaids with these bachelors. Even if he couldn't do anything substantial, it was better than not coming. With his qualifications, he couldn't find such a beautiful woman. Tanggua smiled and nodded. "Oh, then I didn't hit the wrong person. We just finished messing around here. As the groom, you also want to join in the fun. I can't not help you, right?" Fan Chao looked around and saw the bachelors he knew. Their clothes were tattered, and their faces were bruised and swollen. Her exposed skin was the mark of a whip. Her heart turned cold. She didn't care what had happened and hurriedly said, "I just came to take a look." "I didn't. You said just now that I'm so good looking, who wouldn't want to mess around with me? Since you have such good taste, I want to mess around with you for a while longer." Fan Chao wanted to catch the man, but someone was faster than him. It was Tao Yu's two tall and burly assistants, who had some skills. They caught him and wrapped his mouth with tape and tied his hands. After that, Tao Yu, the two assistants, and the other two bridesmaids all watched in silence as He Chao was chased and beaten by Tanggua. The way he jumped up and down was hilarious. Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan had no sympathy for her at all. If it weren't for Tanggua's presence today, who knows what terrible things would have happened to them. From the looks of it, they had done such things many times. Those victims didn't dare to say anything, and they couldn't be held accountable. It was better to give such bad things a good beating. Looking at the dirty pig's feet being beaten up by Tanggua until they were swollen beyond recognition, they couldn't help but feel relieved. Who knew how many bridesmaids like them had been bullied by these stinky men? If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change to a female supporting character and calm down. Look, talk about life and find a confidant. Chapter 1823. Who knew how many people could only suffer in silence, unable to speak up? Would it be useful for victims like them to speak up? They might only be ridiculed by countless people and attacked by malicious people. They would not be able to get justice at all. Now, all those girls who got into trouble on the internet were full of nasty comments. It was really chilling. They said that her beauty attracted people to commit crimes, that she was dressed too nicely, that she exposed her arms and legs, that she wore a spaghetti strap dress, that she put on makeup, and that it was all her fault. The more they thought about it, the angrier Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan became. At the same time, they also wondered if He Yujiao knew about the situation here. It was fine if she didn't know, but if she knew, why did she invite them as bridesmaids? What was her motive? At this moment, Fan Chao was in so much pain that he couldn't scream. He could only lie on the ground and struggle. When the others saw this situation, they didn't dare to make a sound. This woman was really too powerful. The three men just now didn't even make a move. She shuttled between them alone and beat them up until they couldn't fight back. "You hit me. I'm going to sue you." After all, Fan Chao had gone to university and knew a little about this. The tape in his mouth was already torn off. Now that he was covered in injuries, as long as he called the police immediately, this woman would definitely be punished. When that time came, everyone in the village would be his witnesses. Tangua had already put away that very special whip and wrapped it around her wrist. It looked like an ornament, but who would have thought that it would hurt so much? She raised her eyes slightly and asked, "What are you going to sue me for?" "I'm going to sue you for hitting me. We are all witnesses. The injuries on our bodies are all evidence." Fan Chao said confidently, "This is our village. You're here to cause trouble today, right?" Tangua didn't deny it and directly admitted, "Yes, I'm here to cause trouble. Before I came, I didn't want to let you have a good time. I heard that you were having fun with the bridesmaids, so I thought it would be a very interesting game. Since everyone wants to cause trouble, then I, as a bridesmaid, will help you cause trouble at the wedding. On the wedding day, I'll add something to your wedding. Isn't that adding to the joy?" Fan Chao was speechless for a moment. He had never seen anyone admit to hitting someone so righteously. "That's one thing, but you're going too far. Unless I ask you to make a scene again?" Tangua really wanted to laugh to death. At this time, this silly thing's head was still thinking about such dregs. Is this going too far? I think it's very reasonable and fair. Fan Chao wanted to ask how it was reasonable and fair. Tangua said, "Look at us bridesmaids. We are beautiful and want to make a scene. And I also don't like you stinky men, so I want to whip you. It's unreasonable. Isn't it fair? As for who was messing with who, that would depend on who was more powerful. You guys don't have the ability and can only take a beating. If word of this gets out, it will be very embarrassing. As for the scars you mentioned, take a closer look. Are there any scars on your bodies? Why don't I send you to the hospital for a checkup to see if there are any injuries on your bodies? All I did was tear a few of your clothes. Do you have to go to such lengths to sue me? Groom, you don't have enough evidence." Fan Chao wasn't the only one who was afraid. The people around, except for Tangua, were all shocked. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting character and calm down. Look, talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1824. Because the scars on their bodies were visibly disappearing. In less than a minute, the surface of their skin, which was riddled with scars just now, had already returned to its original state. Why did the surface of their skin return to its original state? It was because the pain was still there and had not disappeared at all. Demonius? This word flashed through everyone's mind. Tangua did not care at all what they were guessing. If she really said it, who would believe it? She glanced at Tao Yu and the two bridesmaids standing next to him. Would they say it? They would definitely not say it. Yeah, how could Xiaoguo beat you up until you're riddled with scars? You're lying through your teeth. There are so many grown men and you're slandering a weak little girl. Tao Yu was the first to react. He hurriedly walked to Tangua's side and held her soft little hand. He hypnotized her in his heart and smiled. Even if Xiaoguo beat you up, how could a gentle girl with such fair and tender fingers hurt you? It was not like they hit you. It was easy for them to say it. There are so many men here. How could Tangua beat you all? Ning Jishan also stood up and said with a serious face, "You disgusting stinky men. You can't afford to play and you're actually slandering others. Yeah, isn't it just the bridesmaids who want to make a scene at the wedding? Why can't you afford to make a scene? Didn't she just tear your clothes? Do you have to slander Tangua for hitting you? You even want to sue her? You're really unreasonable," Wen Qingmeng said. Tangua nodded. Yeah, you all look like you're asking for a beating. Even if I hit you, would anyone believe that there are no scars on your bodies? Even the hospital couldn't find any problems. Even if you say that your mouth is dry, no one will believe you. Looking at these scumbags with faces full of anger and confusion and speechlessness, Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan felt that their anger had been vented. Usually, these bad guys were more ruthless than the other when they insulted women. Finally, there was a day when they could not speak. They didn't care whether Tang Guo was a demoness or not. They just wanted these dogs to suffer. When the door opened, Tang Guo and her 3 bridesmaids walked out with their clothes intact. Not too far away, there was a group of people who were watching the show. As usual, there were half men and half women. The sound of the door being opened was heard, and they subconsciously walked over. Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan were still a little shocked. If they had walked out of this room in a sorry state, their faces would have been disfigured. She didn't know how these people, who were waiting outside to watch the show, would point at them. Fortunately, they walked out in one piece. Not even a strand of their hair was touched. The villagers indeed found it strange that these women had walked out so cleanly. Previously, it was noisy inside, so they didn't go close to take a look. The men wanted to take a look, but they all had women and didn't dare to go. Those women didn't want their men to see it, but they didn't want to miss it. After these bridesmaids were messed up, they walked out in a sorry state. Among these women, a small number of them had been bridesmaids before and had also been messed up. Now that they saw others suffering the same thing, they felt a little happy. Just as they were puzzled, with Fan Chao leading the group, the men walked out with rags on their bodies, their faces pale. There were clearly no injuries on their bodies, but people could see that they were in great pain. If you want to talk to more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting character, calm down. Look, talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1825. The villagers all felt that something was amiss. Looking at Fan Chao, their expressions were a little strange, but at the same time, they could understand. When they asked Fan Chao what was going on, Fan Chao said that they were beaten up by Tang Guo. But no one believed that Tang Guo, who was so small, could beat them up. But according to these men's personalities, these bridesmaids should not have walked out so easily. The onlookers couldn't figure it out no matter how hard they thought. Tang Guo glanced at them lightly. Since the wedding is over, let's go. I wish you a happy wedding. As she said this, she suddenly laughed out loud. Her small hand held Tao Yu's arm and she winked playfully. I had a lot of fun today. Thank you for your hospitality. Under the angry and pained gazes of the villagers and Fan Chao, Tang Guo and the others left. The moment she closed the car door, she looked at them meaningfully. That cold look gave them a bad feeling. In the car, Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan finally heaved a sigh of relief. They were covered in cold sweat. They looked at Tang Guo with eyes full of gratitude. Wen Qingmeng hesitated for a moment and said, then Yu Jiao. Before she could finish, Tang Guo and Ning Zhishan looked at her. She should know about the customs here, right? With He Yu Jiao's personality, she did not believe that she did not know about such a malicious custom. When Ning Zhishan heard about the bridesmaids, she had already guessed that He Yu Jiao knew about it. She knew about the customs here and still invited her to be a bridesmaid. Her intentions were damning. Actually, it was not that she did not feel anything. Someone had told her that He Yu Jiao was a scheming person and asked her not to give her heart out for everything. She had always been grateful to He Yu Jiao for helping her when she first entered the company. He Yu Jiao had never done anything overboard, and she was always considerate of her. She thought that she was just a bridesmaid, so she came. She did not expect the outcome to be like this. But she did not understand why He Yu Jiao would treat her like this. Why did she do this? Wen Qingmeng said sadly, did I offend her? Ning Zhishan didn't say anything and just lowered her head. She had never done anything wrong to He Yu Jiao. On the contrary, after her promotion, she tried her best to take care of He Yu Jiao. Because she was jealous of you. Tang Guo spoke frankly, don't you think it's inconceivable? The two of them were speechless for a moment. Were they jealous? Just because of jealousy, she planned to destroy them and let them live in the shadows for the rest of their lives? Was he just jealous? Wasn't jealousy enough? Tang Guo said with a smile. Haven't you heard of a student who was jealous of his classmates' good results and whose score was slightly higher than his? He was afraid that he would fail, so he secretly changed his classmates' first choice. Was he jealous of his classmates' scholarship every year, so he poisoned the dorm's water dispenser? Ning Zhishan reacted quickly and said, enough. It was more than enough. She was no fool. She had been so nice to He Yujiao back then because He Yujiao had done her a favor in the beginning. The competition between departments was also very fierce. Between colleagues, how could there be no jealousy? Because of jealousy, there were quite a lot of people who ostracized others. Although He Yujiao was a little extreme and went overboard, this reason was enough. Were those men going to be let off just like that? Ning Zhishan was obviously unwilling. Should she find the media and expose them? Expose the bad habits of this barren mountain and turbulent river. Tang Guo said slowly, there's no hurry. The beautiful, mysterious, and powerful woman in front of them completely convinced Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan. At the same time, they asked, do you have any other plans to teach them a lesson? When they asked this, they were a little excited. When those stinky men were beaten up, they really felt relieved and wanted to see it again. Unfortunately, there was no replay. I guess they want to sue me for beating them up. Tang Guo's lips curled up slightly. Then, she went back to the hospital for a checkup. Of course, nothing was found. The two of them were very tactful and didn't ask why. They weren't stupid, but they were too sentimental and were blinded for a moment. When Qingmeng asked expectantly, and then? X767E, and X9540, and X4E00, and X4E0B, and X201C, quick crossover, female supporting character, calm down, and X722A, and X4E66, and X5C4B, and X201D, and X6700, and X65B0, and X7AE0, and X8282, and X7B2C, and X4E00, and X65F6, and X95F4, and X514D, and X8D39, and X9605, and X8BFB, and X3002, peak. Chapter 1826. Then, you can wait and see what happens. Hearing Tang Guo's answer, the people in the car were not very satisfied. After all this time, she still wouldn't tell them what was going to happen in advance. Tao Yu didn't care about this, as long as his girlfriend wasn't in danger. He was still thinking about how his Xiaoguo beat up those people. The more he thought about it, the more fascinated he was. It was true that good-looking people were good at everything they did. Even though there were many suspicious points, he didn't ask any of them. What he cared about the most was, of course, when could he marry her? As for whether she was a human or a demon or a god, was it important? When Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan didn't speak anymore. They sat in their seats and silently recalled everything that happened today, and also recalled He Yujiao. When they were good friends, it was indeed easy for them to overlook He Yujiao as a person. They had their own filters and removed all the bad things about her. Countless bad things were covered up by their relationship and the little help that He Yujiao gave them. Now that they thought about it carefully, if they weren't tricked, who was tricked? She was going to an unfamiliar place alone to be a bridesmaid. They thought it was in the county, but later changed it to a remote village. If they had been a little vigilant, they definitely wouldn't have gone alone to an unfamiliar village to be a bridesmaid. At that time, they thought that since He Yujiao was so close to them, nothing would happen. They should call Yujiao and ask. Even though they already believed Tang Guo's words, Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan were still a little unhappy. After so many years of friendship, it was because of jealousy and comparison. It would be a lie to say that they didn't feel bad that the other party wanted to ruin them. Ning Zhishan nodded. Okay, they didn't see He Yujiao in the crowd. Fan Chao came in to make trouble for the bridesmaids, but they didn't see He Yujiao. They didn't believe that He Yujiao would agree that Fan Chao came to make trouble. Of course, no one picked up the phone. Tang Guo looked at the two frowning, still worried faces and said, "The person who pretended to be drunk won't pick up no matter how many times you call. Why don't you call tomorrow morning? She'll definitely say that she didn't know the customs of that place. She'll also say that she was happy to get married and drank too much. She'll be very guilty and apologize to you. According to her guess, even if you have a knot in your heart, you won't blame her anymore. Even if you don't blame her, she won't let you off. She will continue to maintain a relationship with you. Even when you are in pain, she will comfort you and occasionally express her regret. Then, when she turns around, when you're not around, she will unintentionally spread what you've encountered. As for what the result will be, you can think for yourselves." Wen Qingmeng and the other two were stunned when they heard this. Was that really the case? Even if today's result was like this, it was hard to say what she would say. What you should be thinking about now is how to clear your name. Speaking of which, it's really a little helpless. Obviously, nothing happened, and you didn't suffer any losses, but you still have to think about how to protect your reputation. Ning Zhishan's eyes dimmed. Yes, there was nothing she could do. They were all prideful and couldn't stand being pointed at by the people around them. Tanghua, you're among them. Aren't you afraid? Wen Qingmeng couldn't help but ask when she saw Tanggua's relaxed and smiling face. X767E, and X9540, and X4E00, and X4E0B, and X201C, quick crossover, female supporting character, calm down, and X722A, and X4E66, and X5C4B, and X201D, and X6700, and X65B0, and X7AE0, and X8282, and X7B2C, and X4E00, and X65F6, and X95F4, and X514D, and X8D39, and X9605, and X8BFB, and X3002, and X3002, the peak. Chapter 1827. Tangguo raised her eyebrows slightly and smiled. What other people say has nothing to do with me. I don't care. If you provoke me and make me impatient, I'll send you a lawyer's letter to warn you. Ning Zhishan had a feeling that Tanghua still had some tricks up her sleeve. She wasn't an idiot. After chatting for a while, she tactfully suggested that they exchange contact information. If anything happened, they could discuss it with each other. Tanghua didn't refuse and gave them her phone number. I'll be a good person until the end and send you home. Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan were really grateful. They subconsciously looked at Tao Yu. Tao Yu said, Xiaoguo's decision is my decision. His attitude was so proper that the two couldn't help but laugh. Wen Qingmeng suddenly remembered that among her former suitors, there were also many who performed well. They came from extraordinary families and were polite gentlemen. No matter what they did, they respected her very much. When she said that she didn't want to, they would only show a helpless and sad expression and say that they respected her choice. Later, she heard that these people went through a very long period of idleness before they fell in love with someone else. Why did she listen to He Yujiao at that time? These people were bad in every way. Looking at their WeChat moments, they were happily married and didn't go out to drink all day like He Yujiao said. After sending the two of them home, Tanghua and Tao Yu also went back. In less than 2 days, something happened in a small area. A village collectively sued a few bridesmaids, saying that these bridesmaids hit people at the wedding. Since the bridesmaids hit people, the police definitely wanted them to show evidence, such as an evaluation of their injuries. However, those people said, she hit us, but we don't know why there are no scars. Anyway, we don't care. That girl hit us. He could imagine a dozen or 20 men telling others that they had been beaten up by a young lady. Now, they wanted to sue them. They had no evidence and no injuries, but they insisted that they had beaten them up. What was even more hilarious was that these people said with a pained expression that the places where they were beaten hurt every day. Even the slightest touch would cause them pain. Sometimes, he would even roll on the ground in pain, unable to bear it. When the police officers saw these men rolling around on the ground like a bunch of rascals, pretending to be in pain, they were so angry that they laughed. How could there be such a helpless person in this day and age? In order to slander a few young ladies, he was shameless to such an extent. Just looking at him made people want to beat him up. He was really asking for a beating. The police asked these people to go back. If they didn't have any evidence, they shouldn't falsely accuse the young lady. Slander without any basis would result in legal liability. These people were agitated, indicating that they had really been beaten up. Why did no one believe them? The villagers didn't believe them. No one would believe them. Now that the police officers didn't believe them, where could they go to seek redress? Therefore, the group of men lay on the ground and refused to leave. They said that they would sue the woman who had hit them and interrogate her. They wanted her to compensate them. In the end, the police officer decided to take them to the hospital for a checkup. After the inspection, of course, nothing happened. They thought that these people were looking for trouble and advised them to go back. When these people saw that no one cared, they thought of another way, which was to make a scene on the internet. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Chapter 1828. No matter what, even if they could not sue them, they had to destroy their reputations so that they would not be able to face anyone. Everything was under Tangua's control. When this group of people was creating trouble on the internet, she even went with the flow and asked the system to help publicize this matter to them. Hence, in less than 2 hours, this matter was trending and attracted the attention of the entire country. When people went in and saw the content, they were very surprised. More than 20 men were actually accusing the 3 bridesmaids of beating people up. They even said that the police did not care about them and protected these women. The people who were used to eating were very confused. The physical strength of men and women was very different. There were more than 20 men on the other side, and there were only 3 young ladies. How did they beat them up? This made them think more. Could it be that these people did not take advantage of the situation and were slandering the young ladies? No one would believe that 3 young ladies had beaten up so many men. The netizens left comments below, asking them to provide evidence, videos, or identification of the injuries. They also asked them to show where they were beaten and how terrible it was at that time. Without exception, no one could produce any evidence. Fan Chao thought of a way and asked someone to Photoshop the photos. After all, he was one of the few people in the village who had gone to university. He knew more tools and skills. Unexpectedly, as soon as the photos were posted, someone identified them as photoshopped. This proved that they were slandering people. Seeing that they could not get justice, the bachelors in the village were a little anxious. At this time, another blog post quickly rose to the top of the search rankings. An article about the bad habit of the bachelors in the village who beat up the bridesmaids was exposed. There were mosaic photos, some videos, and some statements from the victims themselves about what happened at that time. In those photos and videos, other than the mosaic of the victims, there was no one else. What was even more shocking was that there were many familiar faces among them. When they took a closer look, they realized that these were the men who had said that they wanted to sue the young ladies for beating them up. Things were getting interesting now. No one paid attention to whether these people were beaten up or not. Even if they were really beaten up, the people thought that it was right. Countless media outlets were scrambling to report the news. Many media outlets had even rushed to the remote mountain village with cameras and microphones to interview the villagers. Those bachelors didn't expect things to blow up so big. Someone even exposed what they had done in the past. For a moment, the village was in a mess. Regardless of whether it was a man or a woman, whether it was a fight or a spectator, there was no reason for it. This was the first time they had experienced being photographed by countless people. Countless people chased after them and made a fuss about being the bridesmaid. The thought of these scenes being filmed and even reported on the news. Some old people who had lived for most of their lives didn't want to go out. Wen Qingmeng and Ning Zhishan were also paying attention to these things. They were also dumbfounded by the situation. Without a doubt, the person who wrote that article was definitely Tang Guo. It turned out that when they were worried that someone would spread rumors about them and slander their reputation, Tang Guo had already found a victim and planned to expose the current situation of the village. Looking at the villagers who originally liked to watch the show, the moment they saw the camera, they fled like mice. They really vented their anger. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1829. Yes, most of the time, the laws and regulations did not punish them much. But such a shameful exposure could be considered a form of punishment. Now that things had gotten out of hand, it was a question whether the villagers would be able to find a wife outside, not to mention the girls coming here to be bridesmaids in the future. Even so, the bachelors still insisted that they had been beaten up and were in pain all over. They wanted to seek justice. The netizens did not want to be polite to such shameless people. They scolded them until they could not say anything. The bachelors in the village felt aggrieved. They had a feeling that they could not say anything. They had clearly been beaten up. The matter in the village had been exposed, but they did not think much of it. If it was exposed, so be it. At most, they would be locked up for a few days and fined. They were not afraid of being locked up. As for the fine, they were poor and could not afford it. Did they expect them to force them to pay? What made them aggrieved was that no one believed that they had been beaten up by the bridesmaids. Even the villagers thought that they had nothing better to do and were causing trouble. They complained about the pain every day and the villagers thought that they were looking for trouble. It was especially uncomfortable. This time, when the village was exposed, they felt the malice of the villagers towards them. They even blamed them. If they had not gone overboard, would they have let those people come to the village to interview them and ruin their peaceful lives? They were just short of being chased out. They felt terrible and aggrieved, but no one believed them. Just as they were feeling helpless, a comment suddenly appeared on the internet. It was pushed to the top. Those men complained about the pain every day, saying that they had been beaten up by the bridesmaids. The hospital did not find anything. Here, I have an analysis. Why don't we send them to the psychiatrist for a checkup? Is there something wrong with their mental health? Is it hallucinations? Is that why they complain about the pain every day and think that someone had beaten them? The netizens saw this comment and agreed. They felt that these people might really have mental health problems and that there was a need to get a psychiatrist to examine them. Host, the comment has been posted and it has been pushed to the top. Now, everyone agrees. Tang Guo smiled and said, "Then I'll give my brother a call." Host, why are you calling that fake brother of yours? The system was puzzled. Tang Guo explained as she dialed the number, "Ask my brother to come forward and provide them with a free mental examination. I've already thought of an excuse to prevent these people from going insane and hurting innocent young girls. So, the mental hospital under Tang Guo is willing to treat these people for free. I hope they can recover soon and not bring any harm to society." Say, Tongzi, don't you think it's great? Very, very good. Tang Guo let out a low chuckle. I heard that people with mental illnesses don't need to take responsibility for their actions. Since they are mentally ill, let's do a little charity and take care of them in a mental hospital. System, it's fine if you're really sick, but if you're not, how uncomfortable would that be? Host, you're so bad, you're still as bad as ever. Tang Kuei had been paying attention to this matter. He was very interested in the thing that had been beaten but not harmed in the end. When he heard Tang Guo's suggestion to give those bastards a mental health check for free, he was very happy. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1830. The mental hospital under the Tang family's name was going to provide free medical checkups for these single men who complained that they had been beaten up and were in pain. Now that the commotion had reached this point, they also felt that these men were mentally unstable. The police also heaved a sigh of relief. They couldn't do anything to these shameless people. Shameless people were always invincible. They looked down on these shameless people, but there was nothing they could do. Criticizing, educating, and locking them up for 2 days was useless. The mental hospital under the Tang family accepted the 20 or so men and quickly diagnosed them with all kinds of mental illnesses. They also said that these people might do things that harm society and harass young girls in the future. Combined with what happened in the village, everyone agreed. They were worried. What should they do when these people came out to harm people? Then, the Tang family mental hospital said that they were willing to treat these men for free. It wasn't scary to be sick, but they were afraid that if they didn't receive treatment, it would get worse and worse. When that time came, it would be impossible to stop it. They also said that if these men didn't receive treatment, they hoped that their relatives in the village would take good care of them. If they did anything extreme, it would be best to control them. When the villagers heard this, they agreed to let them receive treatment. The main reason was that these men had been acting strangely recently. They insisted that they had been beaten up. They clearly didn't have any injuries on their bodies, but they still cried out in pain. They felt that it was best to receive treatment in the hospital. Most importantly, it was free. It was better than staying in the village and causing trouble. Fan Chao didn't participate in this apart from plotting behind the scenes. Later, when he saw that the Tang family mental hospital was released, he endured the pain every day and didn't cause any trouble. So, he managed to escape. Ever since those men were locked up in the mental hospital, Luo gradually quieted down. Everyone in the village knew that many of the engagement parties had been cancelled. The girls who wanted to be bridesmaids were so scared that they broke out in a cold sweat. Then, they decisively cut ties with the friends who invited them to be bridesmaids. Wouldn't being bridesmaids be a trap for them? Didn't they know what kind of impact it would have on their lives? Brother, those men who are mentally ill without a wife are so pitiful. You have to tell the mental hospital to treat them well. Tang Kuei held the phone and smiled. I've already told them. Xiaogua, don't worry. We are doing charity, so we have to see it through. As long as they don't recover, the mental hospital will continue to treat them. Ah, that's great. Brother, they will definitely thank you. I hope so. Tang Kuei-tsai's lips curled into a smile. Why did he hear people say that those guys were always complaining that they were not sick, but when no one paid them any attention, they would start cursing him, saying that he was meddling in other people's business and doing charity? Tang Kuei rubbed his chin. Was he doing charity? What? After several months of hard work, Tang Yi's beauty shop was also opened. When she and Chapter 1831. Thinking that Tanggua's patent was worth a lot of money now, she still wanted to compare with Tanggua. In the past few years, she had been seeing Tang Kuei less and less. She didn't choose to go to the Tang Technology Company, and she also heard about the situation there. Because of the high-tech products that Tanggua brought out, the Tang Technology Company became the most protected company. Now, even if he wanted to get in through the back door, it was impossible for him to get in for an internship. She didn't know what was going on inside. However, she decided to make her own achievements as soon as possible. The beauty shop's business was good, but it didn't make much money. Now she had to find a way to reduce the cost and increase the profit. Tang Yi was working hard here. She didn't have time to think about Tang Kuei, and she also forgot about the lucky charm. She wanted to make herself more dazzling and stand in front of Tang Kuei again. People's hearts were always changing. Maybe Tang Kuei would like her. She had patience, but she didn't have the lucky charm. Tang Yi didn't replenish its energy for a long time. Such an evil thing was not patient. In half a month, Tang Yi found a new source of products, which was much cheaper than the previous one. At first, she doubted whether there would be any problem. Later, she mixed these products and put them in the shop. There was no problem, and the effect was as good as before. Later, she simply gave up the original source and bought these products. Sure enough, the profit increased several times in the first month after the new source. If it continued like this, she could open 2 more branches soon. Thinking that she would be the boss of a national chain beauty shop in the future, she was very excited. However, it was so much cheaper. Did it really not have any side effects? In the 3rd month, several customers came to Tang Yi's beauty shop. They said that there was something wrong with the products in her shop. Half of their faces were rotten after the cosmetic treatment. At first, Tang Yi thought that these people were looking for trouble. She was not afraid at all. All her products were from legal channels. There was no problem at all. But as more and more customers showed up with red and rotten faces, Tang Yi began to panic. Because there were too many customers, Tang Yi's beauty shop was soon checked. Many of the cheap and effective products that she thought were very effective were added with hormones. When she used them for the first time, they were indeed very effective. Even if he used it once every few months, no one would be able to detect anything. However, all women loved to look beautiful. When they found that the things in Tang Yi's shop were effective, they would naturally come here many times. If he made too many of these things, there would naturally be problems. As for the black-hearted merchants who bought her goods, they didn't care about this at all. The things he gave Tang Yi at the beginning were probably half real and half fake, so she didn't suspect anything. In the end, Tang Yi's beauty shop was closed and she had to pay a huge amount of compensation. If it weren't for her family Tang backing her up, she might have been in debt by now. With the money she earned these days, it was not enough to pay off the debts. Soon, everyone in the circle knew that the family Tang beauty shop was a cheapskate who sold fake products to earn money. There were all kinds of gatherings, but Tang Yi was always the one who was ignored, which made her feel that her whole life was dark. She didn't know that there was something wrong with those things. When he first used it, there was no problem at all. If they wanted to blame someone, they should blame those merchants for being too black-hearted. At the beginning, she used all the good things. But in business, she couldn't let herself lose money. If there was a problem, she wouldn't use it. These people only knew how to blame her, but they didn't know how difficult it was to do business. Yes, they could only see the prosperity on the surface. No one could understand that she didn't want to be like this. Tang Yi held the goblet and looked at Tang Guo, who was surrounded by many people in the distance. She felt very sad. She lowered her head, thinking that if she hadn't been so greedy at the beginning, her parents wouldn't have met Tang Guo, and Tang Guo wouldn't have come back. "Miss Tang, I've known you for a long time." Tang Guo looked at the man who was toasting with her in front of her and raised her eyes to ask. "Oh, many people know me. I believe that in today's information age, people all over the country have already known me. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, hurry up and change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant." Chapter 1832. Yen Song didn't expect Tang Guo to speak so bluntly. In fact, he really didn't mean anything else. With her current status, even if he had any other intentions, he wouldn't dare. The end result of provoking this woman would definitely not be good. For him, it was undoubtedly troublesome. Just now, he didn't know why, but in his mind, he actually thought that she was a good candidate. Faced with Tang Guo's distant and cold words, Yen Song came to his senses. Even if he wanted to find a woman to marry, he definitely couldn't find her. Putting aside whether or not he could succeed, whether or not the other party would take a liking to him was still a question mark. Xiaogua, what's wrong? Guogua, what happened? Tang Kui and Tao Yu appeared at Tang Gua's side at the same time. These two handsome, tall, and extraordinary men looked at his life with a cold gaze. Yen Song was annoyed. What was wrong with him just now? Why did he want to provoke this woman? Anyone with a discerning eye knew that Tang Guo was Tang Kui's baby sister, and also Tao Yu's heart. These two rising stars in recent years were both big shots who dominated a region. Were they people he could afford to offend? It's nothing. This gentleman should be greeting me. Tang Guo didn't look at Yen Song and spoke to Tao Yu and Tang Kui. He said he already knew about me. I said that there are very few people who don't know about me now. When the two heard this, their expressions eased a little. Of course, this was only on the surface. Tang Kui was a mission enforcer. Naturally, he knew who Yen Song was and what he did to the original Tang Guo. Although he showed a slight smile on the surface, it was still hard to ignore. Yen Song always felt that Tang Kui's gaze was not kind. But when he took a closer look, the other party was smiling politely, as if the unfriendliness was just his illusion. Although Tao Yu wasn't a mission enforcer, he didn't know what Yen Song did in his previous life. But with his understanding of Tang Guo, she wouldn't be hostile to someone for no reason. If she was hostile to someone, it could only be because that person had done something overboard. She wouldn't care about simple things at all. Naturally, even though he did not reveal any viciousness when he looked at Yen Song, a cold glint would occasionally appear in his eyes. Yen Song felt a chill all over his body as he stood in front of the three of them. The chill ran from the soles of his feet to the top of his head, causing him to shiver all over. He found an excuse and excused himself from the three of them. When he turned around, he could feel that his back was covered in sweat. At this time, he inadvertently saw Tang Yi, who was sitting in the corner, looking somewhat unhappy. He paused and walked towards Tang Yi's direction. Seeing this scene, Tang Guo and Tang Kui looked at each other and retracted their faintly smiling eyes. Tao Yu was puzzled. What kind of riddle was his future wife playing with his future brother-in-law? Was there some secret that he was not allowed to know? Most of the time, he could feel that his future wife and brother-in-law had a tacit understanding when they did something. If Tang Kui wasn't his future brother-in-law, he definitely wouldn't have tolerated it. Yen Song was mentioned when Tang Guo first came to this world. When the original owner was unlucky to a certain extent, she lost all her family members and countless warmth. Then she became a bridesmaid and encountered all those terrible things. It could be said that she was at the end of her rope. When she was in despair and darkness, she met Yen Song. If you want to talk with more like-minded people, you should be calm. Look, talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1833. He was gentlemanly and humorous. He knew how to make her happy and comfort her. He was very considerate of her most of the time. It was rare for a girl to not be moved when she was treated so gently by someone she didn't hate, especially when she was in her dark period. Yen Song's appearance could be said to be a ray of sunshine, gentle and warm, shining on the cold and dark world of the original owner. She fell in love with him. The sadness of losing her family and friends, of being bullied and unable to fight back, was slowly being cured by this man named Yen Song. She thought that after marrying him, she had finally overcome all the hardships in her life and could start to walk towards the light and live a happy life. But she didn't know that marrying Yen Song was the real dark life for her. On the day of their wedding, she found that Yen Song couldn't make it. Although she had worked hard for a long time and tried all kinds of methods, she still couldn't make it. But she really liked Yen Song. Whether he could make it or not, it was not so important to her. Because Yen Song's care and love for her was not something that she could give up in some aspects. Even if Yen Song couldn't make it, she planned to live a good life with him. She even comforted Yen Song from time to time. A month passed like this, and the two became more and more loving. She found that Yen Song seemed to like children very much. But because of her own reasons, there was no way for them to have children through normal means. After a while, she heard Yen Song say that they could have a trial baby. She agreed almost without hesitation. In fact, she also felt that something was missing in her family. If they had a child together, they would be very happy. Yen Song went to check the survival rate. The doctor said that the success rate of their trial baby was very high. Those who hadn't tried to have a trial baby didn't know how painful it would be. Fortunately, they succeeded in the end. 10 months later, she gave birth to a pair of cute twins under Yen Song's considerate care. She thought that she was getting happier and happier. Looking at Yen Song's happy face, she also felt satisfied. But Yen Song seemed to be a little cold to her. Just when she was wondering why, she woke up in the middle of the night and heard some movement in the guest room. Yen Song wasn't beside her. She walked to the living room and saw the light in the guest room. She also heard some ambiguous sounds from inside. She walked to the door with a cold body. The scene in the guest room was very exciting. Two bodies full of masculine characteristics were hugging each other. From their faces, it could be seen that they were very happy. At this moment, she understood that all the light was fake. All the gentleness was also fake. Yen Song's impotence was a lie. It wasn't that he couldn't do it, but he couldn't do it with women. He married her not because he liked her, but because he wanted children. At the same time, he needed a wife with a clean family background. She was very suitable. Divorce? If she got divorced, she wouldn't be able to see her two adorable sons. If she didn't get a divorce, she would have to endure her husband being intimate with another man all day long. Now that they were divorced, where would she go from here? She went to find Tang Kuei, but because of Tang Yi, she couldn't see Tang Kuei at all. At that time, Tang Kuei had already been bewitched by the evil spirit. Even if he saw her, he would most likely not help her. Just like that, the original owner endured such a dark and terrifying life. What really struck her was that when her two children gradually grew up, they were actually very close to Yen Song and Yen Song's lover, Tan Yi. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1834. She couldn't accept it. She couldn't accept that Yen Song connived with Tan Yi and brought her two children into their circle. She couldn't imagine that her children, who also liked men in the future, would cheat two girls into marriage and have children with them. After that, they would be with their own relatives. Yen Song's family couldn't abandon their children. The possibility was very high. Then, no matter how hard she tried to persuade them, the two children didn't listen to her at all. They even wanted to rebel. In their hearts, their father was great and powerful. Uncle Tan Yi was smart and polite. He often brought them toys. Their mother was useless. She didn't have a job, but she always preached to them. No wonder their father didn't like to stay with her. When she was free, she would sit aside and cry. They didn't like her at all. Her husband cheated her into marriage, making her a poor wife. She also suffered great physical pain and got pregnant with his children. When the children grew up, they thought she was useless. They didn't take her side at all. She didn't choose to die. Instead, she planned to live. In the future, there might be other girls who were as miserable as her. They might be cheated into marriage by the two little bastards. She would never let such things happen. Sure enough, as she expected, she stopped them every time. So they didn't succeed in cheating them into marriage. But Yen Song's family was a rich family. There were still women who were willing to marry into their family and give birth to their children. This time, she didn't oppose them. Instead, she helped them choose. Maybe she wanted to take revenge. She chose the most powerful women and let them marry into the family. These women wouldn't be taken advantage of. As for what happened later, she didn't know. After these women who were willing to give birth to children entered the family, her life came to an end. Host, Yen Song seems to like Tang Yi. Do you think he will succeed? The system looked at Tang Yi and Yen Song. They seemed to be having a good conversation. Tang Gua shook her head. How do I know? I can't read their minds. But if Yen Song goes to flirt with other girls, remember to remind me. It's free to like the same sex. But it's disgusting to cover up his sexual orientation and cheat women to give birth to his children. Would Tang Yi like Yen Song? In fact, Tang Gua didn't think so. After all, Tang Yi loved Tang Kuei, and her obsession was to win Tang Kuei's heart. Regardless of whether Yen Song would succeed or not, she really wanted to see what kind of sparks would fly when the two of them got together. They were both trash. If Yen Song wanted a child, it was actually very simple. There was no shortage of women in this world who would bear children for men for money, no matter what kind of man they were. However, he wanted to have the best of both worlds. After all, Yen Song's family had a very high social status. His father did not only have him as a son, but also had other illegitimate sons. If he wanted to inherit his family's company, the fact that he liked men must not be exposed. At least, on the surface, he needed a wife with a clean family background to support him. As an heir, bloodline was also very important. Not just any girl could give birth to a son for him. His goal was also very clear. He wanted to find a woman who had a good family background but was at a dead end. She had fallen into the darkness of her life and could only rely on him in the future. With the most gentle attitude, he coaxed the woman to give him her heart. In the future, when everything was exposed, the woman could only swallow her anger for the sake of her son. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, please be calm. Look, talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1835. Yen Song's mind was really vicious. If both parties were willing, no one could stop them. Cheating people into marriage and giving birth to children was a heinous crime. Brother, does Yen Song have a few illegitimate brothers? Tang Kuei was sitting in the study, reading a book. Hearing Tang Gua's words, he raised his head. How do you know this? I've heard about this kind of thing more or less. Why don't I know? Tang Kuei smiled and said, except for their low status, they are quite capable and sensible. Oh, that's really a pity. If they were not illegitimate, they might be able to compete with Yen Song. Tang Kuei held back his laughter. Why was his sister so bad? She had the same idea as him again. These days, Tang Yi had been keeping in touch with Yen Song. It was not that she liked Yen Song, but Yen Song was humorous and witty. Recently, she was really annoyed. Her career, which had just improved, had a problem. Although the family Tang couple had given her startup capital. But because of what happened last time, she was not so interested for the time being. Yen Song was a very interesting person. It was not bad to make friends with him. She was not short of suitors. If there were one or two of them who could make her happy, she would not refuse. Another reason was that in front of Yen Song, her damaged self-esteem seemed to have recovered a little. For her, Yen Song was just a person who chased after her and flattered her. She would never like this man. This man's goal was the same as the other suitors. It wasn't like she hadn't been pursued before. Yen Song originally wanted to give up, but because Tang Yi seemed to be a little interested in him, he also wanted to have a try. If he married Tang Yi, there would be too many benefits for him. After marriage, in order not to break up their relationship, he would be more restrained and carefully hide the person he liked behind his back. As long as he did not let Tang Yi know, she would not know. Moreover, Tang Yi did not look like a very infatuated person. Maybe in the future, she would not like him very much. At that time, they would slowly reach a consensus and play their own game. It would be good. What troubled Tang Yi the most was how to get Tang Kuei's heart. even if there was no news that there was a woman by Tang Kuei's side. However, Tang Kuei had too many suitors. Furthermore, they were all outstanding women with high statuses. Among them, there was no lack of female CEOs from foreign companies. They were beautiful, had good family backgrounds, and were capable. Standing in front of them, that feeling of inferiority was really unstoppable. Unknowingly, she took out the good luck charm that she had hidden very well. He had not touched it for many years, but it still showed that the energy was insufficient. He remembered that during the day, a female CEO of a multinational company came to the family Tang to look for Tang Kuei. The two of them locked themselves in the study and talked for 3 whole hours. No one knew what they were talking about. Tang Yi couldn't suppress the sadness in her heart. In the middle of the night, she finally held the lucky charm in her hand and asked, "If I help you recharge your energy, will you really be able to help me get my brother's heart?" Lucky charms. Looking at the word yes, Tang Yi's heart beat faster and her blood was boiling. She wanted to be with Tang Kuei. No matter the price, she only wanted to be with Tang Kuei. If she couldn't be with him in this life, it would be the regret of her life. "I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life." Chapter 1836. She couldn't miss him. She couldn't care about anything else. After so many years, her beauty salon was closed because of these things. The people in this family didn't seem to care about her at all. Tang Kuei didn't care about her, and the family Tang only gave her money, helped her pay the compensation, and gave her startup capital. Did they think that giving her money could make up for the hurt in her heart? What she needed was money. "Okay, I'll help you. You must help me get Tang Kuei's heart, no matter what price you have to pay. Remember, I only want his heart, and let him be with me." She had been too aggrieved in these years. She could stand in the crowd dazzlingly, but since Tang Guo came back, her whole life was gloomy. She really didn't want to live the life of being ignored. The family Tang didn't know Tang Yi's decision at this time. The reason why they helped Tang Yi and gave her startup capital was that they didn't say anything else. They thought that she had strong self-esteem, and they were afraid that she would feel sad if they said something. They believed Tang Yi's words that she was deceived by the black-hearted businessmen. It was normal for a young girl who had just graduated and had no social experience to be deceived. Even they had suffered countless hardships all the way to where they were now. They knew that they had failed and were deceived, so they chose to support her silently and didn't talk about it. Moreover, the family Tang didn't lack money. They had mentioned before that they would let Tang Yi manage some of their shops. It was Tang Yi who refused all of them. They didn't dare to persuade Tang Yi again. Tang Yi had been estranged from them for a long time. They were afraid that they would become enemies if they persuaded too much. Speaking of which, they were not so careful with Tang Guo. During family gatherings, they never asked about the children's career in public, because they were afraid that Tang Yi would feel unhappy and upset. They were also looking forward to the time when Tang Yi could achieve something. Before that, it was normal for her to suffer a little. No matter what trouble she made, as long as it was not against the law, they would help her deal with the aftermath. They didn't know that their behavior was misunderstood by Tang Yi as indifferent to her. They even said that they would only give her money. "Xiao Guo, do you have a grudge against Yen Song?" When Tao Yu went to the company to pick up Tang Guo, he couldn't help but ask. After all, from what he had heard recently, Tang Guo and Tang Kuei seemed to be targeting Yen Song. Tang Guo smiled at Tao Yu. Her smile was so sweet that it dazzled his eyes, making him somewhat infatuated. At that time, she was wondering when they would get married. He wanted to see such a beautiful girl when he woke up in the morning. Before he closed his eyes at night, she was also the one he saw. When he thought of that feeling, he couldn't control himself. "Big brother Tao, it's because I had a dream. In the dream, Yen Song was a bad guy, Tangua said with a serious expression. The system must have been possessed by the host. Was it really okay to tease her like this? Most importantly, Tao Yu would believe it. Sure enough, Tao Yu nodded and asked seriously, what did he do? He tricked me into marrying you. Tao Yu's eyes turned cold. How dare he trick me into marrying you? He had worked hard for so many years, but he still couldn't marry her. That hateful Yen Song actually tricked the girl he had been thinking about for a long time into marrying him in his dream. Damn it. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1837. Xiaogua, what else did he do besides scamming people into marriage? Tao Yu couldn't hold it in any longer. After the bridesmaid incident, his intuition told him that the dream Tangua mentioned might happen in the future, or it might have happened in the past. There were some things in this world that were too magical. Some magical things couldn't be explained by science. He didn't have a good impression of Yen Song to begin with. Now that he heard that he had bullied his beloved girl in his dream, how could he not be angry? He even tricked me into having a child. After I had a child, I found out that he liked men. He married me in my dream to fool others and get an heir. When Tao Yu heard this, he almost exploded. This was too much. His wife was so cute, so obedient, and so beautiful. How could she have a child? If they got married, he would treat her like a baby. Child? Get lost. He didn't like it at all. He only wanted to hold her little hand and live a happy life. A third party, called a child, would only steal her attention if he came to this world. Tao Yu frowned and fell into deep thought. It was already difficult to deal with a brother-in-law. If a boy or a little princess came, wouldn't he be fighting for his wife every day? The problem was, he didn't like children. Would Xiaogua like them? Does Xiaogua like children? Tao Yu couldn't help but ask, although it wasn't the right time. Tangua shook her head. No. Does Brother Tao like them? Tao Yu smiled brightly. I don't like them either. I hate children the most. I only like Xiaogua. Xiaogua, when we get married in the future, we don't want such annoying little things. I think so too. Tao Yu was satisfied. He touched Tangua's face. Xiaogua will be my treasure. No one can distract us. In this life, I only want to be with Xiaogua. Please forgive me for being selfish. I don't want anyone to come between us. Fortunately, his brother-in-law's gaze was no longer so scary. Little brats were different. They were young and didn't know anything. There was really nothing he could do. After reaching a consensus, Tao Yu felt that his whole life was bright. He only wanted to pamper her. He didn't want to give a single bit of love to anyone else. He only wanted to fill his heart with her. Xiaogua, I want to get married. Tao Yu looked at Tangua sadly. When can we get married? I've prepared everything. I'm just waiting for your nod. Brother Tao, are you going to propose to me? Tangua asked with a smile. Everything's ready. Where are the flowers, candles, and rings? Hearing this, Tao Yu's entire being was in a mess. His heart was in a panic. No, what Xiaogua meant was that she had to agree to it, right? Now, he was not very satisfied with his preparations. Although his heart was flustered, Tao Yu's expression remained calm. He held Tangua's small hand and said somewhat nervously, I've also prepared a candlelight dinner. I'll take you home to change first, and then I'll pick you up later, okay? Tangua nodded. Okay. System host, this guy wasn't prepared at all. Tangua said, aren't I in a hurry to go back and prepare? Tomzi, you really don't have any feelings. No wonder you're still single. How can you be in a hurry? You have to give me time and opportunity. system, he was wrong. The world of adult men and women was more complicated than he thought. He didn't understand. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, quickly change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1838. Host, Tao Yu has successfully proposed to your fake sister. She has agreed. They are now having a romantic candlelight dinner. Tang Kuei was expressionless. Why are you telling me this? Didn't I tell you that you don't have to keep an eye on Tao Yu anymore? I just want to remind you that you are still single. Do you want to consider finding a girl to have a romantic relationship with? Host, don't lock me up in a dark room for no reason. I'm your caring system, and I'm wholeheartedly thinking for you. It's not like you're lonely and working overtime in the middle of the night. If you had a girlfriend, it would be different. How will it be different? Don't tell me that I won't work overtime if I have a girlfriend. Everyone in the company treats me like a machine that can do anything. They throw all kinds of problems at me as if I can solve them. 111 smiled and said, "Is there anything that the host can't solve?" Of course it will be different if you have a girlfriend. Although you will still work overtime, your girlfriend will call you and care about your health. She might even cook soup for you personally and bring you food. Just thinking about it makes you happy, right? Tang Kuei said, "That's not realistic. Not everyone can enter the company. If I really have a girlfriend, I won't ask her to bring me soup at this late hour. What if something happens? A single girl shouldn't go out in the middle of the night. Host, you deserve to be single." After a pause, 111 looked at Tang Kuei and couldn't help but continue working. Host, do you really plan to be single for the rest of your life? You three little ones, don't worry about this. Feelings can't be forced. I can't find someone to accompany me just because I am going to be single for the rest of my life. Unless this person is someone I like. 111 didn't understand human feelings but thought that Tang Kuei's words made sense. But given his host's situation, he would probably rely on his own ability to be single in every world. Well, he really wanted to see if the host would become like Tao Yu once he fell in love with a girl. At present, it seemed that he had failed. The host had no interest in women at all. He really wanted to ask if the host couldn't find a boyfriend if he didn't find a girlfriend. But when he thought of the other party's cruelty, he trembled. Forget it, he didn't dare to ask. He was afraid of being locked in a dark room. Actually, he guessed that his host was not interested in men. Previously, in various small worlds, he had met men and women who were infatuated with his host. However, this fellow was cold and heartless, rejecting them without hesitation. It was clear that he was not someone who would take pity on the fairer sex. "Three brats, if you're bored, help me keep an eye on Yen Song and Tan Yi. I need to know their every move. If there are any intimate or ambiguous scenes, I need to record them. At the same time, check on the Yen family's information, mainly on the few illegitimate children. It would be best if you could pick one of them for me, someone who is quite capable." Understood, host. By the way, that fake sister of yours should also be investigating this, right? I'll leave this matter to you. Hasn't little sister and that brat been in love recently? Leave this kind of small matter to me, your elder brother, to handle. In the end, one of the illegitimate sons of the Yen family was selected by 111. He had outstanding abilities and was 1 year younger than Yen Song. His name was Yen Ting. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1839. Not long after, there was a shocking rumor in the city's upper-class circle. The future heir of the Yen family, Yen Song, liked men. It was said that someone saw Yen Song being very intimate with a man. When this rumor spread, the people outside were just shocked. But in the Yen family, there was indeed a huge uproar. Yen Song did not expect this rumor to be exposed. He had always been very careful. He would not be intimate with Tan Yi in public. Even if they met privately, they would not go in and out at the same time. He suspected that this was a conspiracy or it was just a rumor spread by the other party. There was no evidence. If there was evidence, his father would not be asking him about this matter with a serious face. He would have taken the photos or some evidence and asked him to solve it. "Dad, someone must be framing me. How can I be with a man?" Yen Song's father looked at him deeply and said, "Whether this rumor is true or not, you are not willing to meet any of the girls that I introduced to you. Since someone is using this rumor to attack you, if you have a girl that you like, bring her here and get married as soon as possible. When you get married and have a child, these rumors will naturally disappear." "Dad, I don't care whether it is true or not. You must get married and have a child. As for the rest, you can decide on it yourself." Yen Song understood what his father meant. What the Yen family cared about was the daughter-in-law on the surface. As for what he did secretly, whether it was a man or a woman, his father would not object. This was the same as what he had guessed at the beginning. "Dad, I have my eyes on a girl now. I will express my feelings to her as soon as possible. I hope that I can marry her as soon as possible." Yen Song's father was surprised when he heard this. "Which family is she from?" "Family Tang family." Yen Song's father was surprised. "Family Tang family?" He was surprised at first. Then, he came to his senses. "Is it the adopted daughter of the family Tang family?" "Yes." Yen Song admitted. "All right. The family Tang family only has 2 daughters. You can't do anything about the biological daughter. She has already announced her relationship with Tao family's boy. I heard that she has proposed successfully 2 days ago. It shouldn't be long before they get engaged. The adopted daughter is not bad. The family Tang family is not big. The couple is good to their adopted daughter." Yen Song knew that his father would not oppose his marriage with Tang Yi. Now the problem was whether Tang Yi would agree or not. He didn't feel that Tang Yi liked him that much. What Yen Song didn't expect was that he was able to easily invite Tang Yi out. Tang Yi, who was originally cold to him, actually became a lot more enthusiastic. He did not know that Tang Yi was only interested in his luck. Or rather, Tang Yi was interested in the luck of the Yen family. Anyway, no matter what she did now, as long as she replenished the energy of the lucky talisman, even if she married Yen Song now, the lucky talisman would let her obtain Tang Kuei's heart. As long as she could obtain enough luck to replenish the lucky charm's energy, she didn't care about anything else. It didn't take long for Tang Yi and Yen Song to announce their relationship to the public. Every day, Tang Yi would smile when she saw that the lucky charm was replenishing its energy. Later on, Yen Song proposed to her and she agreed. The Yen family came to the family room to discuss their marriage. It seemed like the Yen family was more anxious. "I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change to a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant." Chapter 1840. The family Tang couple was very surprised. They frowned when they knew that Tang Yi and Yen Song were together. They also knew about the rumors about Yen Song. Actually, in their circle, the more groundless the rumors were, the more likely it was to be true. Even though a family like the Yen family couldn't be compared to the Tang family, they couldn't simply spread any rumors. After the Yen family left, Lin Yinghui looked at Tang Yi and asked, "Xiaoyi, do you really like Yen Song?" Tang Kuei was not here today, so Tang Yi did not feel pressured at all. She nodded and said, "Yes." "Xiaoyi, you have not known each other for long. Do you want to think about it again?" Lin Yinghui said worriedly, there were a lot of rumors about Yen Song recently. I mean to ask someone to investigate whether it is true or not. If he really likes men, he is just using you to cheat you into marriage. It's not that I want to judge others with bad intentions, but marriage is not a child's game. If you don't investigate it properly, you will be at a disadvantage. Moreover, the Yen family was so messy. There were all kinds of illegitimate children outside. She did not like them at all. Tang Yi was the adopted daughter of the family Tang. Even if she was not her biological daughter, she did not want to be in-laws with a family like the Yen family. Who knew if Yen Song was the same as his father, who had a messy private life? When the time came, her daughter would suffer. She was satisfied with Tao Yu because the Tao family was upright. Tao Yu was loyal to Tang Gua, and he knew when to yield and when to stand tall. He did not even look at any other woman except for Tang Gua. She believed that only a man who was single-minded and focused like him could be reliable. Mom, those are just groundless rumors. I heard that Yen Song's illegitimate brothers are not satisfied with him and want to compete with him for the position of the heir. I'm guessing that they were the ones who released the news to slander him. Actually, Tang Yi did not care about Yen Song at all. What she cared about was the luck on Yen Song. As the heir of the Yen family, his luck must be strong enough to replenish the power of the lucky charm. She actually believed those rumors. If that was true, it would be better. She would feel less guilty. Yen Song's purpose for her was not pure. So it should be fine for her to let the lucky charm absorb some of his luck, right? Who asked him to have bad intentions? The family Tang couple didn't know what Tang Yi was thinking. Seeing Tang Yi's stubborn look, they couldn't persuade her. They planned to wait for Tang Gua and Tang Kuei to come back and ask them what to do. Xiao Yi seems to be possessed, she insists on marrying Yen Song. Lin Yinghui held on to Tang Gua's hand and said worriedly, the Yen family is so messy. I'm afraid that if she marries over, she will be eaten alive. Moreover, if the rumor that Yen Song likes men is true, then the one who will suffer is Xiaoyi. I suspect that they're in such a hurry because they want Yen Song to get married to cover up this rumor. When the time comes, we can trick Xiaoyi into getting married or even having children. With the young mistress of the Yen family on the surface, no matter what happens in the future, it won't affect Yen Song much. In fact, Lin Yinghui's main concern was that Yen Song would trick Tang Yi into having a baby. Nowadays, there were many such cases in society. Men liked men, but they couldn't bear the pressure from their families. With the help of their family members, they deceived a girl who had no family background to carry on their ancestral line. The more Lin Yinghui thought about it, the more worried and angry she was. After raising Tang Yi for so many years, she was a little angry for the first time. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Chapter 1841. Mom, how about I help you investigate Yen Song? Tang Kuei glanced at Tang Gua and said, if there's really something wrong with Yen Song, we can show the evidence in front of Xiaoyi. Then she won't be so stubborn. Brother, you're right. Let's investigate Yen Song first. Tang Gua nodded. Xiaoyi and I don't play together, so we can't persuade her. Even our parents can't persuade her, let alone me. It's better to show the evidence directly. Hearing this, the couple nodded in agreement. The system and 111 silently complained at the same time. These two brother and sister were really evil. They knew that Tang Yi was just replenishing the energy of the lucky charm, so she didn't care about anything else. If they showed the evidence, Tang Yi would most likely let the lucky charm absorb Yen Song's luck. Thinking about it, it was quite good. Yen Song was not a good person, Tang Yi was not a good person, and the Yen family was not a good person either. They really didn't do anything, it was all Tang Yi's decision. Not long after, Tang Kuei showed a few photos to the family Tang couple. It was an intimate photo of Yen Song and a man. From the photo, it could be seen that the relationship between Yen Song and this man was not ordinary. As for those indecent photos and videos, Tang Kuei didn't intend to show them at this time. If he really showed them, the family Tang couple would stop Tang Yi and Yen Song from getting married at all costs. If that happened, wouldn't it be against his original intention? His baby sister probably had the same idea. They really had a tacit understanding. This world was very interesting. Living here for a lifetime should be a very happy thing, except that it was a little busy with work. The couple showed the photos to Tang Yi. Tang Yi said, "It's just a few photos, how can you think that Yen Song really likes men?" In fact, Tang Yi believed it. But if she didn't marry Yen Song, how could she absorb his luck every day? After seeing these photos, the little bit of guilt in her heart completely disappeared. It was not too much for her to absorb the luck of those who approached her with ulterior motives. Who asked them to provoke her? They had ulterior motives, and she also had ulterior motives. In order to make the family Tang couple agree, Tang Yi even brought Yen Song to the house and let Yen Song personally say that he absolutely did not like men, and that those rumors were false. As for the photos, Yen Song gave a good explanation. If someone wanted to, it would be very easy to take a photo like this. Moreover, the location shown in the photo was in a bar. This further proved that someone was trying to frame him. The location of this bar was actually overseas. That was why Yen Song and Tang Yi dared to be so bold. Yen Song saw that Tang Yi was always on his side, so he became more confident. The family Tang couple still objected, but Tang Yi said that she would marry Yen Song no matter what. "Dad, Mom, if you insist on stopping me, I'm willing to give up everything and leave this house." Tang Yi and her husband didn't expect Tang Yi's words at all. Surprise, shock, and disappointment. For a man, Tang Yi actually wanted to cut off her relationship with them. Tang Yongbo's face darkened at that time. In fact, he was not satisfied with Tang Yi for a long time. Since the accident many years ago, when they survived the disaster, he felt that Tang Yi didn't care about their life and death at all. If you want to talk with more like-minded people, you should be calm. Look, talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1842. At that time, he didn't care about Tang Yi anymore. First, he raised her for so many years, and he had some feelings for her. Second, it was because of Lin Yinghui. They lost so much money to Xiaogua, and she didn't enjoy the life of a rich young lady when she came back. She entered the company with her own ability and made countless achievements for the company. Speaking of which, they didn't lose money to Tang Yi at all. The only one who lost money was his biological daughter, Xiaogua. Xiaogua didn't blame them for losing her, nor did she resent that she didn't grow up in her own home and enjoy the life of a rich young lady from childhood to adulthood. Regardless of whether it was her biological parents who didn't do their duty or her adoptive parents, Xiaogua had always cared about their feelings. But what about Tang Yi? Thinking about it carefully, she didn't care about them at all. And they doted on their biological daughter, but they still cared about whether it would make her uncomfortable and uncomfortable. Tang Yonghua didn't say anything, and Lin Yinghui also didn't persuade Tang Yi anymore. In fact, she knew that Tang Yi had been estranged from her for a long time. She loved her daughter, but Tang Yi didn't appreciate it. According to the current situation, she was afraid that she would treat them as enemies. Sure enough, a grown girl couldn't be kept at home. Tang Yi looked at the two's opposition and regretted a little. But thinking that these two's opposition would ruin her plan, she shut up. The energy of the lucky charm was still being replenished. If she didn't want to be with Yen Song, she would have to choose another person. What happened a few years ago was still vivid in her mind, and it made her understand that not everyone's luck could be absorbed. It was not easy to find someone like Yen Song, who was full of luck and could be absorbed. She couldn't give up. She wanted to get Tang Kuei's heart and be with him. She would come back here sooner or later. Lucky N was big and mysterious. Even if she got married, it could fulfill her wish. As for family Tang couple, when she got Tang Kuei's heart, she could make a wish that they only love her as their daughter. Mom, Dad, I'm leaving. I don't need you to care about my future. Tang Yi pulled Yen's song and turned to leave. Tang Yonghua stopped her. Xiao Yi, think about it. If you walk out of this door today, you won't be a member of the family Tang anymore. When he said this, Tang Yonghua's voice was a bit angry. Especially when he saw that Lin Yinghui's eyes were red and she was holding back her tears. He hadn't seen Yinghui cry for a long time. Tang Yi really disappointed him. If this daughter of his was jealous of his biological daughter and made Yinghui angry, it was better not to keep her. What was the point of having such a scourge? They would just treat it as if they had raised her for nothing. For a man, she was going to leave them and sever ties with them. If he had known this would happen, he would not have agreed to bring back the pitiful little girl at the entrance of the orphanage and give her the best life. Lin Yinghui grabbed Tang Yonghua's hand and pursed her lips, not saying a word. But Tang Yonghua saw through her thoughts. He sneered and said, since they have become enemies, what is the point of keeping them alive? Our daughter is back, but she wants to leave because of a man. Let's just pretend that we didn't raise her. Yinghui, what's the use of keeping her alive? Don't you feel it these days? Tang Yi's face changed slightly when she heard Tang Yonghua's words. Yes, Mom and Dad's biological daughter, Xiaogua, is by your side. It's nothing for you if I leave. I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Chapter 1843. Anyway, the one you like the most is your biological daughter. I won't be an eyesore even if I leave. I'm just a substitute for Tanghua. When she came back, should have left this family. I shouldn't have stayed here and hindered all of you. Now I'm leaving. You should be happy. Tang Yi seemed to be unable to control her heart. She wanted to say all the words that she had kept in her heart all these years. Her escape route was all on the lucky charm. This was something she could trust wholeheartedly. Everything she had now was brought to her by the lucky charm. In this world, anyone could have a change of heart, but the lucky charm wouldn't. As long as she had a wish, the lucky charm would be able to help her realize all her wishes. Although the family Tang couple was sad to her now, maybe when she made a wish and got all their parental love, they would be kind to her again. Speaking of which, these were all fake. If it weren't for the lucky charm, would they be so good to her? Now they were not as good to her as before. It must be because the lucky charm's energy was not enough. She was not afraid, not at all. When she replenished the energy, she could get all these again. Hearing Tang Yi's words, Lin Yinghui's eyes turned dark. She tried hard not to faint. She took a deep breath and said, Go, just pretend that I didn't raise you. I didn't expect that you think like this. Go, you're not welcome here. Xiaoguo was back. Why did she think so much at that time? In order to appease Tang Yi, she almost wronged her own daughter. Why? Ungrateful, she really raised an ungrateful person. Go. If Tang Yonghua was not supporting Lin Yinghui, he would have slapped her. Tang Yi smiled, okay, I'll go. See, you finally show that you don't like me. As soon as Tang Yi turned around and left, Lin Yinghui fainted. When Tang Guo received the call, she was on a date with Tao Yu. Her face slightly changed, she raised her head, my mother fainted because of Tang Yi. Brother Tao, accompany me to the hospital. What happened? Tang Yi wants to marry Yen Song, but her parents don't agree. She wants to break off the relationship. As for the specifics, he should have said something extreme. Tao Yu held Tang Guo's hand and fell into deep thought. He stole a glance at her. Although she was walking very quickly, she didn't seem nervous at all. This was very strange. Xiao Guo always gave him a mysterious feeling. Powerful and invincible skills, as well as the ability to foresee the future, and the ability to hit without leaving a mark. It was said that the men who were sent to the hospital were still complaining of pain every day, as if they had never recovered from their injuries. Xiao Guo, are you a fairy or a witch? Tang Guo got into the car, looked at Tao Yu and said, I don't know either. Actually, it's not important. I don't care if you're a witch or a fairy. As long as you marry me, everything is negotiable. Tang Guo went to the hospital to visit the family Tang couple. Tang Yongguo was making a phone call. Well, move Tang Yi's household registration out. She is no longer the daughter of our family Tang. Property? No, not a single cent. My family has raised her for more than 10 years. Isn't that enough? We don't owe her anything. My wife has been sent to the hospital because of her. I can't afford to have a daughter like her. Take back everything under her name. Forget about the things she spent and sold. Take back everything that can be taken back. Don't leave a single cent. Didn't she say that we only treat our own daughter well? Then I, Tang Yongguo, want to let her know what it means to treat only her own daughter well. After hanging up the phone, Tang Yongguo saw Tang Guo coming in and smiled. Xiao Guo, Xiao Tao is here. Your mother is fine. She has always been in good health. But this time she was too angry. It's my negligence. I won't let it happen again. Dad, are you done with her? Tang Yongguo said lightly, yes. In fact, a few years ago, I saw some signs. Tang Yi doesn't care about your mother and me at all. Now she has found someone she likes and plans to get married. I wish her happiness. After a few years, Tang Yongguo's heart had been obliterated. But he didn't say it out because of Lin Yinghui. Maybe your mother and I are used to doing charity these years. We always consider other people's feelings. We don't want to be so decisive. Tang Yongguo remembered the gifts Tang Guo and Tang Kuei had given Tang Yi. He glanced at Lin Yinghui's seat and said with regret, it's a pity that you and your brother gave her such a good gift. Tang Guo blinked and whispered, Dad, the master's gift is rare. Not everyone can have it. Tang Yongguo wants to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change to a female supporting lead, calm down. Look, chat about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1844. After Lin Yinghui woke up, she knew what Tang Yongguo had done. She didn't say anything, but she seemed to be a little silent. The couple was able to join hands to create the Tang group in the past. They were not simple people. It was just that they lost their beloved daughter, so they considered leaving some leeway for others. In fact, they loved and tolerated Tang Yi more than ordinary parents did to their own daughter. Previously, Tang Yi's decisiveness, that appearance of not recognizing her relatives, made her bitterly disappointed. Since Tang Yi didn't care about it, she didn't have anything to say. She just treated it as if she had never raised her. After more than 10 years, she and Tang Yongguo didn't owe Tang Yi anything. Tang Guo looked at Lin Yinghui's look of resignation, the corner of her mouth slightly curved up. The reason why she didn't choose to use a golden millet dream on the couple at the beginning. It was because the couple had an inexplicable obsession with Tang Yi. It was just a dream. As long as Tang Yi didn't make a mistake and didn't expose herself, the couple wouldn't think anything of Tang Yi because of a dream. On the contrary, because of that dream, it would be a warning, and it might cause trouble. Just like now, they just let Tang Yi develop like this. Let the couple fully realize that Tang Yi's nature was more useful than a dream. No matter how deep the things in the dream were, for rational and strong-willed people, it didn't affect them much. Now the couple was hurt, and there was a crack in their hearts. If Tang Yi wanted to go back and beg for mercy in the future, wouldn't they feel uncomfortable? If Tang Yi was really that shameless, she would use a dream of golden millet to hit the couple hard. She didn't know what they would think of this heartless thing. It must be like a fishbone stuck in their throat, and they couldn't wait to strangle her. The system was too cruel. Only her big cutie could stand this woman. Tang Guo comforted Lin Yinghui and Tang Yonghua, and said to the system in a relaxed tone, "Monitor Tang Yi for me, especially the scene when she talked to the lucky charm. Be sure to monitor it. Host, what's the use of this? When there is a chance, show it to my parents. If Tang Yi comes back to them and pretends to be pitiful, I will use a golden millet dream on them first, and then show them these videos." Tang Yi wants to turn over, no way. The system wanted to make a swallowing action, but it was not a human, so it weakly agreed. His great host was as heartless as ever. However, it made sense. Time and space could be reversed or repeated. Everything could be redone, except for the soul that had been scattered and merged with the world. There was no way to return. At least, he didn't know of such a way. Tang Yi left the family Tang Hotel with Yen Song. Although Yen Song knew that Tang Yi and family Tang had a falling out, he didn't think that the family Tang really didn't recognize him as their daughter. On the contrary, he felt that this was not a bad thing. He had a wife like Tang Yi on the surface, and she even fell out with her family for him. At least, his father would approve of it. As for whether Tang Yi could bring any help to him, as long as she was the adopted daughter of the Tang family, it was already the biggest help. There was another advantage to having a falling out with the family Tang. In the future, when Tang Yi found out that he liked men, it would be difficult for her to go back to the family Tang to support her. On the surface, the relationship between the Yen family and the family Tang Hotel was still in-laws. For him, there was no harm in it. If he wanted to chat with more like-minded people, he would be able to quickly change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, chat about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1845. In fact, Tang Yi didn't think that the family Tang would really cut off their relationship with her. As far as she knew, Lin Yinghui was very soft-hearted, especially to her family members. In the future, she would definitely be able to repair their relationship with her if she said a few words. Even if she couldn't, she still had the lucky charm to make a wish. Half a month later, when Tang Yi received a separate household register, she was a little dumbfounded. Because in the past half a month, she had been living in a villa under Yen Song's name. All the expenses and living expenses were paid by Yen Song's people. She didn't have time to spend money, so she didn't know that all the supplementary cards given by Tang Yonghua before were frozen. When she received the individual household registration booklet, she had a bad feeling. At the same time, a letter was handed to her with the household register. There were no superfluous words in it. Looking at the sloppy but elegant handwriting, it was Tang Yonghua's. The general meaning was that from now on, she was no longer a member of the family Tang, and they had nothing to do with each other. The family Tang didn't owe her anything, and they didn't care about the 10 years of upbringing and education expenses. So, everything about the family Tang had nothing to do with her. The family Tang didn't care about all the money she had spent, but they had the right to take back all the assets under her name and freeze her funds. Looking at these, Tang Yi hurriedly checked some of the assets under her name. Sure enough, all the funds were frozen. These things were all bought in the name of the family Tang couple, and the accounts were all from the family Tang couple. In addition, with their identity, it was easy for them to take back the money without Tang Yi noticing. Tang Yi checked all the assets under her name, and all the real estate was taken back. The supplementary cards were frozen, and the money that the family Tang couple had earned for her was also frozen by the bank. In total, the money in her other cards could only be used for tens of thousands of yuan. Since she was adopted into the family Tang, she had never thought that she would encounter such a situation. You've gone too far. Tang Yi looked at the household register, and finally tore the letter into pieces and threw it into the trash can. Don't blame me for being unkind. Tang Yi thought that the couple didn't like her for a long time, and now they finally found an excuse to drive her out and take back everything they had given her. She held the household register and sat on the sofa with a gloomy face. Not long after, she held the lucky charm in her hand and asked, "When will the energy be replenished?" "Good luck, talisman, you should interact more with Yen Song." "Alright, I can't wait." Once her energy was replenished, she would make a wish to obtain Tang Kuei's heart. She didn't know if the couple would encounter any disaster this time, but she couldn't care less about that now. Who asked them to be so heartless? Tang Yi believed that if she married Yen Song, her energy would be replenished faster. Therefore, she took out her household register and said that she wanted to register her marriage with Yen Song first. Although Yen Song was surprised to find that she was the only one in the household register, she didn't think too much about it. For a family like the family Tang, it was not a big deal to have a household register. It was actually better this way. They could get the marriage certificate first. Even if the family Tang objected, it was useless. The two people, each with their own thoughts, got the marriage certificate. Yen Song told his father about the marriage certificate with Tang Yi, and his father was very happy. The two of them discussed and chose a time to go to the family Tang to ask about the wedding. Yen Song thought that at this time, the family Tang had to hold the wedding for the sake of their face. He didn't expect that he wanted to chat with more like-minded people. Calm down. Talk about life and find a confidant. Chapter 1846. Yen family didn't expect that Tang Yi and Yen Song's wedding would be like this. They rushed to the family Tang school and asked about Tang Yi and Yen Song's wedding. Only then did they know that Tang Yi had broken off her relationship with the family Tang school. Tang Yi's household register was separated from her, and all her assets were taken back. Now Tang Yi was alone, and she had nothing to do with the family Tang school. Taking advantage of this, the family Tang school officially announced that they had broken off their relationship with their adopted daughter, Tang Yi. The family Tang school didn't say anything. They didn't say anything bad about Tang Yi, nor did they say anything good about her. They didn't hide anything. Some smart people understood why Tang Yi and Yen Song announced their relationship a while ago, and Lin Yinghui was suddenly hospitalized for a week. Although the family Tang couple used to be big figures in the business world, since they handed over the Tang group to Tang Kuei, they devoted themselves to charity. They were humble and gentle, and they were very good to their children, especially to their adopted daughter, Tang Yi. Everyone knew that they didn't treat her badly. In every big gathering, Lin Yinghui always had Tang Guo on her left side and Tang Yi on her right side. Now she broke off her relationship with Tang Yi, and it was so thorough. Tang Yi must have done something wrong. Many people didn't say anything on the surface, but they had already planned to stay away from Tang Yi and the Yen family. After all, the Yen family's reputation was not good. Some people guessed that Yen Song might really like men, and maybe he had a lover outside. Combined with Lin Yinghui's hospitalization, it might be because of this. If it was because of this, Lin Yinghui objected, and Tang Yi didn't turn back and got sick. In short, the outside world guessed that the Yen family would make waves. Letting Yen Song marry an ordinary woman, who had no status and was called Tang Yi, was not what they expected. But now they got the marriage certificate, and they announced to the public that Yen Song and Tang Yi would get married. If they didn't get married, wouldn't it be a slap to their own face? Yen Song also didn't expect it, but he didn't argue with Tang Yi. The current situation wasn't too bad for him. He married a woman mainly to maintain the relationship on the surface, so that his father wouldn't trouble him, and to dispel the ideas of those illegitimate children. On the contrary, now that Tang Yi had no family Tang to rely on, she could only rely on him, and it was easier to control her. In the end, Tang Yi and Yen Song held their wedding ceremony. Many people came to watch the fun, and some wanted to see the Tang family's attitude. Tang Yi found that no one from the family came. Her hatred and resentment reached its peak. The Tang family was too ruthless. She was still thinking that they would still be a family in the future and worried that the couple would be hurt because of Tang Kuei. Host, Yen Song has already missed 3 major projects this month and caused a huge loss to the Yen family. In just 1 month, his tires had been punctured 12 times, he had met 3 old ladies who were trying to blackmail him. His brakes had also failed and he had crashed 4 cars. Currently, his driving license had been completely deducted. Tang Guo blinked. Am I that unlucky? Yes, because his luck was very good. If he was an ordinary person, he would have already been hospitalized. The system said with a smile, "Oh, host, there is the latest news, and it's a bit exciting. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, please be calm. Look, talk about life, find a confidant." Chapter 1847. Tang Guo asked, "What happened?" Yen Song was playing with his little lover in the bathroom. Perhaps the floor was too slippery, he sprained his waist and his face turned pale. His little lover had already called the ambulance and looked very anxious. Later, according to the system's report, Yen Song had a bad fall and had to be hospitalized. Currently, the company had lost 3 big projects and was in a mess. Yen Song sprained his waist and could not handle things. Yen Song's father had no choice but to hand over some of Yen Song's responsibilities to the other illegitimate sons. He even suspected that the Yen family had been so unlucky recently because they married Tang Yi, the jinx. Otherwise, why would so many things happen in less than 2 months after they got married? Tang Yi still did nothing every day and stayed in Yen Song's villa. She did not care about where Yen Song went. She did not care about his cold attitude at all. She only focused on the lucky charm to replenish her energy. When she learned that most of the energy had been replenished, she laughed crazily. When she learned that Yen Song sprained his waist, she knew that it was because of the lucky charm. There were rumors that Yen Song was shining because of a man who had an ambiguous relationship with him. She did not mind at all and felt that it was quite satisfying. She thought that it was retribution. If there was anyone to blame it on Yen Song. He was not sincere to her and only wanted to use her. Now, this was retribution. She did not feel guilty at all for absorbing Yen Song's luck. Therefore, when Yen Song suffered, she only felt happy and did not feel guilty at all. Yen Song's waist injury was healed for a month. When he returned to the company, he found that the Yen family had changed. Those illegitimate children had actually joined forces to please his father and arranged many important positions for them. Among them, Yen Ting was the leader. There was no internal strife at all. It was as if they had acknowledged that Yen Ting was their boss. Especially when he heard that Yen Ting had won a few good projects for the company to recover losses and create profits for the company, he felt a chill down his spine. He wanted to do something, but he found that he was suppressed by Yen Ting everywhere. He did not know when Yen Ting had grown to such an extent. Those important projects were all accurate and there was no failure to speak of. Yen Song's father was very disappointed when he saw Yen Song's weak appearance and knew why Yen Song sprained his waist previously. The more he looked at Yen Ting, who was full of energy and vigor, the more he looked at him, the more he liked him. Yen Song was unwilling to give up and wanted to continue fighting. At this moment, someone exposed all kinds of ambiguous videos and photos of him and his little lover, Tan Yi. Those unsightly scenes and words shocked the entire upper-class circle. With such an embarrassing son, Yen Song's father had almost sent him back to be remade. How could he let him become the successor? Since then, Yen Song had lost the qualifications to compete. When he woke up, he began to wonder if he had married Tang Yi, the jinx. He went crazy to find Tang Yi. At that time, Tang Yi had just finished replenishing her energy and hung the lucky charm around her neck. She found someone to embed the lucky charm with diamonds so that she could wear it around her neck or hide it in her clothes. When Yen Song came in, he looked at her with hatred on his face. She looked at him in disgust. "Why are you back? You are a jinx." Yen Song pointed at Tang Yi and said, "If I hadn't married you, how could I be so unlucky? I want to chat with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant." Chapter 1848. Tang Yi said slowly, "Didn't you insist on marrying me? Now it's my fault. Wasn't the purpose of your marriage with me so that you could have a private meeting with your little lover under the guise of a cover-up? Last time, you even said that you want me to have a baby. Dream on. On the day of our wedding, you said that you can't do it. Yen Song, calm down a little. Since you know it, why did you marry me? It's none of your business. Well, you can leave now." She didn't plan to divorce Yen Song for the time being. She would divorce him after her wish came true. Now that she was divorced, she was penniless and would probably end up on the streets. Apart from the days before she was adopted by Mr. and Mrs. Tang, she really had not suffered much. She had also forgotten what it was like to have no money, but she knew that without money, it would be difficult to move an inch. Yen Song looked at Tang Yi and felt a little disgusted. In fact, he had no reason to blame Tang Yi. When they got married, no one knew that she was a jinx. Tang Yi didn't have that kind of reputation when she was in the family Tang. So, he turned around and left angrily. Back in the room, he thought about the things that happened since he met Tang Yi. He always felt that everything was strange. Yes, he suspected that Tang Yi had done something wrong. Otherwise, how could he be so unlucky? And Tang Yi didn't seem to like him, so what was the purpose of marrying him? Yen Song, who was suspicious, secretly bought a hidden camera and installed it in Tang Yi's room when she went out. Tang Yi went out to eat a few delicious meals before returning to the room. She took out the lucky charm and said seriously, "Lucky charm, your energy has been replenished. Now help me to fulfill my wish. I think that in order to get Tang Kuei's heart and help you to get energy, I sacrificed too much. I married Yen Song, that bastard. This time, I should be able to succeed." Tang Yi took out a pen and wrote her wish on the lucky charm. She didn't know that this scene was seen by Yen Song. Yen Song couldn't believe it, but he had to believe that Tang Yi's words could explain why he was so unlucky. He turned off the monitor and rushed out of the study. He happened to meet Tang Yi and said, "I'm going out." "Where to?" Tang Yi really liked Yen Song. If she didn't like him, she wouldn't be together with him without any status. Now that Yen Song was in dire straits, he had almost lost the right to inherit the Yen family. If he wasn't sincere, he wouldn't have stayed by Yen Song's side. Seeing Yen Song in such a hurry, she felt a little flustered. She tugged at him and said, "It's already so late. No matter how urgent it is, you can go tomorrow." "No, this matter is urgent. I have to go today." Tang Yi didn't manage to stop him and was even rudely pushed. He was worried and uncertain. In the end, he chose to secretly drive and follow Yen Song. The furious Yen Song did not notice that Tang Yi was following behind him. This scene was broadcasted to Tang Gua and Tang Kuei by the system and 111 respectively. The two of them were lying in their room with their eyes closed, watching Yen Song angrily going to Tang Yi's villa on the system's live broadcast screen. He also saw Tang Yi following behind. When he saw this place, he looked sad and gloomy. Tang Yi might not be a good person. Other than Yen Song, he was selfish to everyone. But he really liked Yen Song. At this time, it was certain that he was sad. At this time, the villa was noisy, but Tang Yi had already driven away sadly. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, please be calm. Look, talk about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1849. Yen Song and Tang Yi quarreled. He wanted to grab Tang Yi's lucky charm. The two of them fought fiercely. In the end, Tang Yi kicked Yen Song's private part and hit his shoulder with a stool. Tang Yi was not much better. She was slapped in the face a few times. She was pulled by her hair and hit her head. In a hurry, she kicked Yen Song's private part and made him lose his ability to fight. Both of them were injured. They released each other. Yen Song covered his private part and left. When he returned to the place where he lived, he found that Tan Yi was missing. He looked for Tan Yi all over the world. Finally, after some twists and turns, he found Tan Yi and explained why he went to Tang Yi. Tan Yi chose to forgive him. It has been a month since Tang Yi made her wish. Tang Kuei didn't treat her sincerely, he didn't even see her face. Tang Yi, who was very anxious, finally couldn't help but take the initiative to go out and stop Tang Kuei on the road. She never expected that she would be hit by a car when she went out. She was knocked into the air. She glanced at the driver. It was a handsome young man with a gentle smile on his face. Then she fell to the ground. She heard the sound of leather shoes coming over and the man's gentle voice. "You hurt Song so much. No one will punish him, but I will. Now, no one can stop me in Song, not even you." This place was relatively remote and there was no camera. This was also the reason why Tan Yi dared to do this thing. Maybe it was retribution. He only loved Yen Song and was selfish to everyone. For his love, he didn't hesitate to let an innocent woman give birth to his children. At that time, someone happened to pass by that place and filmed all of this. He also reported the case and called the emergency number. Tang Yi didn't die. She didn't know whether it was because she was lucky or because of the lucky charm. Even if she didn't die, she was half disabled. Her leg was missing, and one of her arms was comminuted. She was almost disabled. Tan Yi was arrested and received the corresponding punishment. Yen Song knew the truth and resolutely chose to divorce Tang Yi. He didn't give her a single cent. Tang Yi, who was desperate, thought of family Tang couple. She went to the family Tang's villa with crutches, trying to get help. However, before that, Tang Gua had already fed the family Tang couple a dream of golden millet and showed them some videos. Seeing the cold eyes of the couple, Tang Yi was a little scared. "Dad, Mom." Lin Yinghui shook her head and said, "I am not your mother, and Yonghua is not your father." "Dad, Mom, I was wrong." Lin Yinghui's expression dimmed and there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. "No, we were wrong. I hate myself. How could I raise an enemy? I raised her for more than 10 years and even pampered her like a treasure." In a pipe dream, they dreamt of a different life. Their instincts told them that it was real. They could see the whole situation clearly. All the tragedies were caused by Tang Yi's selfish wish. She made them lose their daughter and their son's last chance to live in this world. Finally, Tang Yi was driven away and never had the chance to enter this place again. She was crippled, and became a beggar. His entire value was the lucky charm that he kept in his arms. She was unwilling to give up. She thought that the lucky charm could help her. She tried to absorb the luck of others, but it was to no avail. In the end, she finally found that she could absorb Yen Song's luck. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people. She wanted to be the supporting female lead. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1850. After that, there was a joke in the upper-class circle. Yen Song was madly in love with a female beggar. If he was not careful, he would be attacked by her. That female beggar was also very powerful. She could always push Yen Song to the ground and kiss him fiercely. Once, they were seen by Tang Gua and Tao Yu when they were shopping hand in hand. There were also many people around. Tang Guo looked at Tang Yi, who was wearing rags and smelly clothes. She pressed Yen Song and kissed him fiercely. She did not laugh out loud like the others. Instead, she looked at them carefully. Such a gaze attracted the attention of the two. Tang Yi turned around. When she saw Tang Guo, her eyes suddenly became gloomy. She wiped her mouth, threw Yen Song to the ground, and limped to Tang Guo. Tao Yu subconsciously protected Tang Guo behind him. Tang Guo came up to him again. Tao Yu had no choice but to hold her gently. He was always on guard. I shouldn't be so greedy. Tang Guo did not expect that Tang Yi would say such a sentence. If you weren't greedy, everything would be mine. Her parents were hers. She was the daughter of the family Tang, and Tang Kuei were also hers. Believe it or not, one day, I will have everything again. Tang Yi said with a smile on her face. After all, she used to have nothing. It was the lucky charm that helped her realize her wish. Tang Guo glanced at the object hanging around Tang Yi's neck. Are you talking about making a wish on that thing? What? You don't believe it? Tang Yi was a little mad. She was not happy to be doubted. Tang Guo shook her head. I never believe that a pie will fall from the sky. You need to work hard and pay a price to get what you want. To get wealth, you need hands and wisdom. To get sincerity, you need sincerity. I've never heard of it. You don't need to pay anything, but you can get benefits for free. You don't understand. Tang Yi muttered to herself and walked past Tang Guo. What do you know? In this world, there are benefits for free. You can start with nothing, but you can have everything. You can have everything. You haven't encountered it, but it doesn't mean that others don't have it. Xiaogua, next month is our wedding day. You haven't forgotten, have you? It won't be postponed, right? In this inappropriate place, Tao Yu said pitifully, it's time to get married. You should have finished what you wanted to do, right? Now, my future parents are very satisfied with me. My future brother-in-law is also asking when I'm getting married. System, this child is really pitiful. Big brother Tao, I've kept you waiting. I didn't forget. Hearing this, Tao Yu finally breathed a sigh of relief. He held Tang Guo's face and gently touched it. Then, he held her little hand and left happily. Yen Song crawled up from the ground, his face full of bad luck. Tang Yi was like a fly with sticky candy, he couldn't get rid of her. No matter where he hid, he would be found. It was revealed that Yen Song liked men, and Tang Yi was imprisoned because of him. In addition, he was pestered by Tang Yi, so no one wanted to marry him. Tang Yi, on the other hand, had been replenishing the energy of the lucky charm all her life, trying to realize her wish. When Yen Song died because of losing all the lucky charm, she couldn't find anyone to absorb the lucky charm. She was at a loss on the street, not knowing where to go. At this time, her hair was white and her face was full of helplessness. She looked like she was abandoned when her parents died in an accident. She was sent to the orphanage, robbed of her food, isolated, bullied, and sat in the corner of the orphanage. Why didn't your lucky charm work? Why didn't it work? I gave you so much energy, why didn't it work? Tang Yi threw the lucky charm on the ground and stomped on it. Her face was full of anger. The people around looked at her and only thought that she was a crazy beggar woman. Host, Tang Yi is dead. Her soul was absorbed by the lucky charm. Tang Kuei, I see. Host, Tang Yi is dead. According to the test, the soul was absorbed by the lucky charm. The evil thing seemed to be very upset. It probably regretted that it chose to bind Tang Yi. Hey, it wanted to break through time and space to escape. I have already caught it. Host, do you want to take that thing back? Tang Guo, no, brother and the three little ones seemed to know the origin of the evil thing. Give it to them. Sob sob sob. Alright, dear host, our time in this world is coming to an end. Why don't we talk to the three ones? Everyone is a good system. It's okay to get to know each other and make friends. Your fake brother is also a good person. One more friend, one more road, right? Tanghua smiled. Do you want to ask the three little ones to help you get an official identity? System, yes, working for the government is really different. I want to talk with more like-minded people. Hurry up and change into a female supporting role. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Chapter 1851. When Tang Kuei left this world, Tang Guo was sitting beside him. The two of them did not use any means to maintain their youthful appearances. Therefore, they were both white-haired, but their skin was well maintained, making them look younger. However, Tang Kuei's body was nearing the end of its lifespan, and his face was very pale. He looked at Tang Guo with a smile, and Tang Guo also smiled. In this ward, there were only the two of them. I suddenly don't know what to say. Tang Kuei smiled. Sister, you understand, right? I understand, brother. Tang Kuei's life was the same as in the previous world. He had not met anyone who could move him. In this life, he protected his family and his sister. At the same time, he did what the original body wanted to do, and became a real business tycoon. He succeeded, and his name was known by everyone in this world. He was actually very satisfied, because this world was more colorful than before. Tang Guo was colorful, or rather, she was a plate of colorful candy, sweet and warm. In his memory, he did not have a sister, but he had already regarded Tang Guo as his sister. I'm leaving. Although I really want to stay a little longer, I have no choice. This is an ordinary world. Tang Kuei said, I am very happy to have a sister like you. I don't know if we will have the chance to meet again in the future. In the 3,000 small worlds, fortuitous encounters and fate are all uncontrollable. It is possible to meet them, and it is not surprising if you don't. Brother, don't regret it. You will meet what you are destined to meet. Tang Kuei smiled. Yes, I haven't asked. Sister, where did you come from? I don't know where I came from, and I want to know the answer. I wanted to ask brother, but now it seems that you don't know either. However, I have an unnumbered system, and it should be communicating with the three little ones now. Maybe it can find something. Tang Kuei was slightly surprised. So Tanghua knew about the three little ones? Was it because of her system? His three little ones did not notice her existence at all, and he did not know what level of system it was. Logically speaking, the three little ones should be a top-level system. If there is a chance, I will help you ask. How long has it been since you transmigrated to these worlds? I don't know. Some of my memories are already blurry. If it's not 10,000 years, it should be at least a few thousand years. Tang Kuei fell into deep thought. I remember that the system appeared less than 10,000 years ago. Regarding this matter, you will have to ask the boss of the Space Administration to find out. But I don't know what boss has been doing in recent years. It's very rare to see him. It doesn't matter. Big brother, just help me keep an eye out when you're free. Tang Kuei could feel his life force slipping away. Suddenly, an item appeared in his hand. It was a transparent, brightly colored tourmaline bracelet. Naturally, it was not an ordinary item. It could ward off evil spirits, drive away souls, and protect the body. Don't forget, I'm your big brother. Thank you, big brother. Tanghua directly took out a set of soft armor, which was naturally made by Qi Shao. This set of life-saving soft armor is my gift to big brother. It was made by a big shot in the immortal world, and its quality is guaranteed. Tang Kuei was amused. In the end, he closed his eyes with a smile. Host, let me tell you. Your fake sister has a very fierce system. It's just an unorthodox system without a serial number. It insisted on adding me as a friend and even asked me to ask if he was qualified to apply for a serial number. It's super fierce. The problem is that I can't win against it. Host, let's quickly move on to the next mission. It's really too frustrating to be beaten by it. Tang Kuei said, don't you know how to give in to your sister's system? As for his matter, wait for boss to come back and ask him. Angry and depressed, 111 gave in to what? He couldn't win at all, okay? Sister, I only have that fake sister all day long. Whoa, what else can I do? Give in. There was a place called Family Tang Village. The reason why it was called Family Tang Village was because more than half of the people in the village had the surname Tang. The village chief was called Tang Jindo. He had a younger brother called Tang Indo. Tang Indo was a small merchant who often traveled between the village and the city. His family was the richest in the village. Tang Jindo had 3 sons and 2 daughters. The sons were handsome and the daughters were delicate. Tang Indo had 2 sons and 1 daughter. Both of them were quite good-looking. Tang Jindo was a benevolent person. In the eyes of the villagers, he was a good village chief. Tang Indo usually smiled at everyone he met. That gaze of his gave people the feeling that he wanted to take a layer of oil from you. He liked to haggle over every little thing. In general, he was just a person who was neither good nor bad. This time, Tang Guo's identity was Tang Jindo's eldest daughter. If you want to chat with more like-minded people, hurry up and change into a female supporting character. Calm down. Look, chat about life, find a confidant. Chapter 1852. After absorbing the memories, Tang Guo found out that this little world was formed from a book. To be more precise, it was a book where the male and female protagonists loved and killed each other, and there was a blood feud between them. On the day she transmigrated here, she found that something was wrong. At this time, Tang Guo was carrying a basket of eggs. This was the village's Aunt Li's daughter-in-law giving birth to a child. As the oldest woman in the family, she had to go over to congratulate her. Although, she was only 15 years old at the moment. The mother of this body had passed away many years ago. This family's money, all kinds of expenses, and everything else was done by her. Whether it was Tang Jindo or her 3 brothers, they all doted on her and her younger sister Tang Bai. Tang Bai was this world's female lead. Sis, let's not go out for now. There's no rush to send the gifts over. The summer rain will stop soon. Tang Bai saw that Tang Guo was carrying a basket and had already put on her raincoat. She put on her bamboo hat and was about to step over the threshold to go outside. She quickly grabbed onto Tang Guo's wrist. It's raining so heavily. If you want to go out, you have to wait until the rain stops. Tang Guo turned around and looked at the 13-year-old girl beside her. Her young face could already tell that she was a beauty, except that she was a little tanned and wore dark-colored clothes. Usually, between the little girl's eyebrows, there was a faint sadness. But now, there was a bit of fear and anxiety in her eyes. Tang Guo glanced at Tang Bai. The other party didn't dare to raise her head and her voice suddenly became small. Sis, it's not easy to walk in the rain and it's easy to get wet. I'm so young. What if I fall? Then you stay at home. I'll send it over myself. Tang Guo said with a smile. This girl was a bit interesting. She was going to tease her. System host, you'll scare her. You're really too bad. No. Tang Bai suddenly raised her head and her grip tightened. Sis, what if you fall? Looking at Tang Bai's anxious and pitiful appearance, Tang Guo took off her bamboo hat and straw raincoat. She smiled and said, Bai's words make sense. Then let's wait until the sky clears up before we go. Tang Guo put the egg basket aside, and Tang Bai finally breathed a sigh of relief. If she didn't send eggs to Aunt Li's house when it rained, she wouldn't have met that person. If she hadn't met that person, her family wouldn't have encountered what happened in her previous life. All the disasters were brought about by her moment of benevolence. She couldn't afford to offend that person. She could only avoid him for the rest of her life and not let him come close. She knew very well what she was capable of. She could not take revenge for the grudges from her previous life. The only thing she could do was to protect her family. She loved her father, her 3 brothers, and her sister. Once she was of marriageable age, she would find a man in the village who knew his place and treated her well. It would be best if she could live a peaceful life. Tang Bai looked at the drifting rain outside the house. Her ears were filled with the sound of raindrops falling. She hoped that this rain would be a bit heavier and last a bit longer. It would be best if the person hiding in the grass caught a cold, aggravated his injuries, and finally died. Host, Tang Bai was reborn. That's right. This weak little girl was quite cautious. She had some ability, but for the sake of her family's safety, she turned herself into an ordinary person. Look, she even made herself ugly. Recently, she always went out to sunbathe when she had nothing to do. She probably wanted to turn herself into a little black person. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people. Quickly change into a female supporting lead. Calm down. Look, talk about life. Find a confidant. Chapter 1853. When Tang Gua heard the system mention the little black man, she laughed out loud. This slightly joyful laughter dispelled the nervousness in Tang Bai's heart. Her sister's laughter was really nice to hear. It was really good to return to the beginning. She hadn't heard her sister laugh like this for a long time. In her previous life, she was blinded and gave her heart to someone who had a blood feud with her. When she saw her sister again, there was only coldness and killing intent in her eyes, making her tremble in fear. But when she thought of that shocking scene, Tang Bai trembled all over. In this life, she couldn't have any contact with that person. Ah, Bai, are you cold? Why did you suddenly shiver? Tang Gua turned her head and asked with a smile, patting Tang Bai's shoulder, if you're cold, then wear more so you don't catch a cold. Sister, I'm not cold. Tang Bai looked at Tang Gua greedily. In this life, she had to be good to her sister and everyone in the family. She couldn't cause trouble and bring harm and danger to them. She owed this family too much. Just like that, the 2 sisters sat in the central room and stared at the rain outside. As they talked, Tang Bai's heart relaxed a lot. Previously, the female lead of this world was Tang Bai and the male lead was the one Tang Bai mentioned. He was currently injured and hiding in a grass stump in the village. His name was Su Machan. Su Machan's identity was the heir of the house of the Marquis. The current emperor was old and the court was facing a reshuffle. The main thing was that the emperor had many sons and each one of them was outstanding. Su Machan also sided with one side and had to do something very important. He didn't expect that he would be discovered and the other side framed the Marquis' wife and his sister. The 2 of them died tragically. Su Machan was also intercepted and chased along the way. In the end, he escaped to this place and met Tang Bai who was delivering eggs on a rainy day. Tang Bai looked at the man from Bloody Forest. After delivering the eggs, he turned around and brought the girl home, secretly taking care of her. Tang Jindo was also a kind person. Although he thought that Su Machan might bring harm to the family, he couldn't just leave him to die. In the end, he told his family not to leak any information and secretly hid Su Machan. While recuperating, Su Machan had already received news from the capital. When he learned that his sister and mother had died tragically, he was so angry that he almost couldn't hold it in and went back with his saber. Because the Marquis' family had been framed and he was currently a criminal, no one could know of his whereabouts before he was cleared of the injustice. Before leaving the village, he thought about his escape route and decided that it was not a good idea. If his opponent found this place, it would definitely be disadvantageous to him. Therefore, he decided to silence Tang Jindo and his family so that they would not be exposed. But while he was recuperating, he fell in love with Tang Bai, this shy and gentle little girl. He was a little reluctant to let her die. Therefore, he planned to pretend to take Tang Bai out to play, but in reality, he was taking Tang Bai outside to lie low while secretly sending people to kill Tang Jindo and his family. He succeeded. When Tang Bai saw the tragic death of her family, she fainted. When she woke up again, she was in a carriage. From this day on, she lost all her family members and the only person she could rely on was Su Machin. It was worth mentioning that the original owner had also been out that day. She had escaped a calamity and later inadvertently found out the truth of her family's tragic death. Want to chat with more like-minded people? Quickly change into a supporting female lead and calm down. Look, talk about life, find friends. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.